We played Seattle on a Sunday night. I believe it was week 5 or 6, and we flew back right after the game, and we get in probably to Minnesota around 5 or 6 a.m., and you obviously don't sleep well on the planes. Then you're going to bed at 6 a.m., and it does throw you off the next several days. So part of the deal, we played Chicago Monday night, same thing. You get back 3, 4 a.m., and it just kind of throws you off. But it's a part of the deal, and sometimes when we go to the West Coast, we'll leave on Friday so that we can acclimate to the time zone change a little earlier. But after the game, I think everybody wants to get home and sleep in their own bed as quickly as they can. So we've tended to do that.
Well, but here's the thing, Kirk. As much as you're getting the proper night's sleep and the data supports it, I know you weren't sleeping as well as you should be when you guys were 0-3 and 1-5. So eventually you guys picked it back up. You guys started getting some wins and sputtered at the end, but certainly put yourself back in the playoff conversation for a good chunk of the season. I think, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong or unfair, I think streaky or inconsistent is probably the best word to describe the Vikings this past season. If you agree with that, why was that the case? Why the erratic results?
Well, a lot of different reasons. We lost some games early to some good football teams that were, one play away. And that's the way the NFL is. The difference between a team that goes 6-10 and 10-6 is so small. But we lost to Seattle, on 1 or 2 plays at the end. We lost to Tennessee in a really close game. We beat Houston in a really close game. Otherwise, we're 0-6 starting the season. Barely beat Houston. So every game was so close. Then we did get on a run, got back to 500 by early December, and we weren't able to finish strong and get ourselves in the playoffs. But we got thinned out on defense. Injuries hurt, and offensively, there were some positives with Justin Jefferson the year he had as a rookie. Dalvin Cook had almost 2,000 yards from scrimmage. So there were a lot of positives, and when you're streaky, that's kind of the way it is. There's some things to point to that you're really excited about moving forward, and there's some things we have to improve. But every year you kind of go through that, and looking forward now to 2021 and what we could possibly be able to do on the field.
It's interesting you mentioned those 2 names because I was going to ask you about Justin Jefferson as a rookie. It was like he had been around for years. He had 1,400 yards receiving. It's uncalled for, or unheard of for a rookie. But when you pair him with Dalvin Cook, and I know a lot of people like to say the running back is overvalued and they're not utilized as much. But when you have someone who does as much as Dalvin does, especially when he's healthy, like your team is set up to be successful. How do you get over that hump that BT is alluding to? Because we know you have a good coach. The defense obviously needed to be remade a little bit, but how do you get back over that hump to where you guys are deep into the postseason like we saw the previous couple of years?
I think staying healthy is a big part of it. We were in training camp and Danielle Hunter got hurt. We were kind of thinking, boy, what if we don't have him for the first game or two? That'd be tough. That'd be really tough to not have our best player, our best pass rusher out on the field for a week or two. Little did we know we weren't going to have him for all 16 games. So health is a big deal. And many times when you get to the end of the season, if you can stay healthy, you're kind of, grateful for that because it can be the difference. And so that has to be a priority going into 2021. And then when we get in those close games, and it is a play or 2 away from winning, we've got to find those inches and make those plays. And, I'm optimistic and confident that it'll go our way next year.
So we're talking to Kirk Cousins, and Kirk, 35 touchdowns this past year for the Vikings. Kirk's with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. It's amazing. You're already going into year 10. Time is flying for all of us here. I don't even know if you care about this. And I joke around with Tiki, Kirk. I've said a lot of times. Tiki, I've probably said this 20 times since we've been together. I've said, Kirk is the kind of guy where if I turn to my right in church and he's got the brass dish for the donations, I'm reaching in for 20 or 40 more bucks because you have that face and you have that believability because you genuinely are one of the good guys in the league. We know that about you. I wonder if you care about the fact, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, that you don't get as much respect as you probably should. Like, I feel like it's always, you get drafted middle rounds, okay. Washington, they didn't really want, okay, you move on. Well, Minnesota, they're good, but maybe not good enough to, do you feel like in the court of public opinion that you have earned more respect than you get?
Well, it kind of goes back. It's kind of been my story, so it's been just part of my journey. I go back to college. I go back to high school. I wasn't a big recruit, was not a first-round draft pick. in Washington, I was kind of fighting for a chance to play. And then when I was playing, I was getting the same question. And I really just have said the same line through the years, that those who know, and those who don't. And that's okay, but I'm not going to expect the people who don't really study it or know it or get it to have the correct opinion all the time. But thankfully for me, through my journey, the people who needed to know and had to study it, they did know. And it's, as a result, worked out for me. And I've been in a great situation throughout my career, and going into year 10 now in Minnesota, feel the same way. So those who know, and I've kind of always gone by that. And then you kind of shrug your shoulders at the rest.
But Kirk, do you feel like you've overachieved? And when you look at the money, what you've made versus the draft status, you've clearly overachieved. But in terms of your production, what you put up there on tape, in terms of stats, do you think that you've overachieved, or you're right where you should be?
Well, if you're looking at, winning a Super Bowl, and what we really are all doing this for, to be able to go deep in the playoffs year after year, in that sense, there's a lot of ground left to cover. And I think that's all of us, and Tiki knows, he's lived it as a player. When you accomplish something great, it feels really good, and you feel a sense of accomplishment. And in this league, it's so hard to play well. And so when you do, it's very satisfying. But you find that after a moment, you look around and there's only more mountains to climb. Mm-hmm. And you end up realizing, boy, I got another rung on the ladder to go get. And so you never really find yourself comfortable or feeling like, boy, I've overachieved. And if anything, you find yourself saying, great, we climbed that mountain, but now I want the next one. And that's really where I'm at, and looking at, how are we going to get deep in the playoffs year after year and eventually be playing in the game that everyone's talking about coming up on Sunday. And really, until you get there, you do always feel like there's more to go and there's more to achieve, and you're not there yet.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Once you hit that stage, and especially when you hit it and lose it like I did, you fear never getting back again, which obviously happened for me.
Wow.
Because I left a year too early, but that's another story. Kurt, when I think about the quarterback position, and BT and I have had this conversation many times over the years, it's always like, all right, you got your quarterback, you pay him the money, he's there, man. You got your franchise, you build everything around him. It seems like, for the most part, that is the case. But we're starting to see some, anomalies to that routine. Deshaun Watson is one. Jared Goff is another. There's some issues happening in Philadelphia which are uncertain. We don't know what Carson Wentz is really saying or not. But as you look at the quarterback position around the league, and obviously you're one of them, has it changed how the status quo or what's expected from an organizational standpoint in your mind?
I don't know that I can answer that too well. I know that in the NFL, it's pretty impatient. There's not a lot of grace now for a down year or a down couple of years. That could be the difference in keeping your job or losing your job. Maybe there was a little more grace extended back 15, 20, 25 years ago, that a quarterback who was a franchise quarterback, could go 4-12 or 5-11 and still keep his job. But nowadays, it's just harder to be able to sustain if you're not on every single week. And that's what really adds to the pressure and the magnitude of the job, is that every single Sunday you're being evaluated in such a way that, one bad decision, one bad game, and you don't know, how thin that ice is. So you have to bring it every single week. And we all kind of live with that edge, prepare with that edge. And it's what makes our game great, our league great, and this job great. But it also is a tremendous challenge.
Yeah, look at Jared Goff. He's in his mid-20s. He went through a Super Bowl, and then he gets bounced. He gets bounced for a good player in Matthew Stafford, but to your point, security's fleeting. What's funny, Teak? Think about, and obviously, Kirk, we talk about your old team, Washington, and how they've got, 6 or 7 studs up front, an army of first-round picks on defense, and Rivera's a hell of a coach, and the culture's totally different now from when you were there. But the one thing we say, Kirk, is, boy, they kind of need a quarterback. You can't live with regret, and I'm sure you don't, because it's worked out well for you in Minnesota. But do you ever say to yourself quietly, man, I wonder what would have happened if I would have stayed with Washington and these changes came when I was still there? Your mind ever wander out there?
No, I don't think I go there. I think more about what would have happened if I had never met Adam Thielen or Kyle Rudolph or Justin Jefferson or Gary Kubiak. I've met so many great people and teammates and support staff with the Vikings, and I really can't imagine my life having not gone to Minnesota. I also think of what happened to Alex Smith the year after I left and the leg injury that he sustained. And, what if that had been me? And so you always go through those scenarios, and you really can't look back. You just look forward and are grateful for, the fact that I am in Minnesota and what I've been able to be a part of here and the people I've been able to meet. I truly feel, privileged to become a Minnesota Viking.
As you should. Great franchise. So before we let you go, we all surmise we know what it means, but because you're such, I always say it, you really are just a respectful, good guy, decent person, good family man. We've seen the pictures with your wife and, your dad now. It's one of the genuinely good people. And then we see this lunatic back in the day walking off the field screaming, you like that, which seems so counter to who you are. Once and for all, again, we think we know what that meant. What did that mean, and exactly who were you screaming at? I want the answer right now. I want the truth right now. Give it to us.
Well, first of all, the guy I am is probably somewhere in between the two. That intensity is really who I am, and sometimes I feel I do have to, put it on pause to be able to not stick my foot in my mouth or to play the quarterback position the way it needs to be played. But I've kind of always wanted to be a middle linebacker playing the quarterback position in terms of my intensity and the passion that I play with, which sometimes is for the worse, not for the better. But, in that moment, I just remember we were 2-4. Didn't get off to the right start, but I felt like we were close. I was doing a lot of good things. I wasn't kind of breaking through, if you will. And we broke through in that game. We were down 24-0, came back and won 31-30. And it was a real, shot in the arm and an encouragement to kind of get over the hump in that way. We ended up playing much better after that and never really looked back. But in that moment, I just remember kind of, as there was so much doubt swirling around me and whether I could do the job, just kind of feeling that, you may not like me. You may want to try to find a way for me to fail and point the finger when I don't play it. But we just came back from a 24-0 deficit and won 31-30.
Nice.
You like that.
Nice.
That's kind of where it came from.
That makes sense.
That's the intensity I've always played with.
Give us one. Come on, give us one. Give us one right. Tiki, we're not going to. We're going to lay out. Just give us a good one so we can always have it. It's in the system. We can play it. Give us a good one, Kirk. Go ahead.
I think the one I gave back in October of 2015 can stand. That one can stand for itself. You can clip that soundbite. I'm sure you got guys that can do that. And you can run that back as many times as you want.
It's hard to replicate the emotion. I got you.
Don't trademark it like Bart Scott tried to do.
Hey, why? Bart's making money. Why wouldn't he trademark it? He should trademark it.
Good point. Actually, trademark it, Kurt.
Exactly. Kirk, great chatting with you. God bless. Have a good offseason, man. We'll watch you next season for sure.
All right. Thanks, guys. Always good talking with you.
You got it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.